Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
Okay, so Huma Abedin has announced that she is separating from the husband, Carlos Danger. Carlos Danger tweeting out photos of himself with a swollen crotch with a child next to him. So Huma says that's enough. Did Huma Abedin Wiener really not know she had a deviant taking care of her child? She may not know what's best for herself, but she apparently knows what's best for Hillary Clinton. I mean, she's in line. We've heard she's chief aide now. She's presumably going to be Hillary's chief of staff. But she has not been chief of her husband's staff. Obviously. Greetings, my friends, and welcome. El Rushbo here behind the golden EIB microphone. Telephone number 800-282-2882. Colin Kaepernick, the third-string quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Folks, we lose sight of something, but we are all blessed to be born in the United States of America. It is quite simply the absolute finest human invention in history, the United States of America. We sometimes forget it. We're born here. We get caught up in disagreements, fights, arguments. Easy to lose perspective when we haven't lived elsewhere, when we haven't expressed and experienced what 95% of the world's human population has had to live through since the beginning of time. We are the lone exception. And our existence has charted a new course for humanity the world over. And I think it would serve us all well to just take a moment and thank God, or whoever you thank, for your existence, that you are an American, given all these other things. It's a shame, and it's, I've warned of this coming. I've warned of the politicization of everything. There now doesn't seem to be a single aspect of life in the United States that is not touched, that does not become controversial because of race. Thank you, President Obama. Even the national anthem has now become a matter of race. You know, the most recent Rush Revere book, Time Travel Adventures with Exceptional Americans, Rush Revere and the Star-Spangled Banner. The book for children is about how it came to be. It's about much more than that, but it's about how the Star-Spangled Banner, our national anthem, came to be. It's one of the most popular of the four Rush Revere books to date. And it's ironic that we have now a quarterback who was adopted and raised by a white family, who was scouted and signed by white scouts, was employed by white owners, the National Football League, decides now to steal the stage of the National Football League to make personal statements during the week he is about to be cut from the team because of his inability to play. I don't now know if he'll be cut. It's a question for the 49ers to deal with. But I told you so kind of people, these nya time, and I'm had my tendency to be one. But I have warned everybody that this was coming. I've warned everybody that the politicization the left has engaged in, and this anti-American, transform America, America's unjust, America's immoral. I have been trying to sound the clarion for 8 years about what we are headed for. We're smack dab in the middle of it now. And I want to share with you something I wish I had written. Something that was on Twitter. I was not on Twitter, but somebody was and sent this to me. See if this doesn't describe it for you. Colin Kaepernick does not stand for the national anthem. St. Louis Rams players can run onto the field with their hands up mimicking hands up, don't shoot, something that did not happen in Ferguson, Missouri. Other players in the NFL and the NBA can wear T-shirts saying, I can't breathe, which is a take on the Eric Garner situation in New York City, again misreported by the media. However, while Kaepernick can do what he wants and everybody applauding him and everybody, hey, he's got the right to. He's got the right to do it. That's everybody's cop-out. While he can do that, while the St. Louis Rams players can run onto the field with their hands up, mimicking hands up, don't shoot, the Dallas Cowboys were denied by the National Football League their request to put a sticker on their helmets this season to honor the 5 police officers killed in Dallas. So the Cowboys can't do that. Too provocative. No freedom of speech there. League turned down the request. The Cowboys won't be honoring the cops there and elsewhere. But Kaepernick can do whatever he's doing, to plaudits, to acclaim, to cheers, and all these other expressions against America. Tolerated, applauded, accepted. We're told we must understand. But using the stage of the National Football League or your own individual stage to honor police, the United States military, often is now so controversial that the safest bet for you is to not do it. Now, I'm one of these people who thinks Kaepernick has every right to his opinion, but, there's something else that is curious to me. The coach of the 49ers, is Chip Kelly. He's from Oregon University by way of the Philadelphia Eagles. When this all came up, Chip Kelly said, well, I can't tell a guy what to do. I can't tell a guy what to do. You can't? You do every day. You give them bed check, you give them curfews, tell them what time they have to show up in the morning, and if they don't, ostensibly they're in trouble. Adults used to tell kids what to do all the time because the kids hadn't been alive long enough to know right from wrong, good from bad, appropriate from inappropriate. The coach is the adult. Coach says, it's not my job. I can't tell a kid what to do. I can't tell a kid what to think. He didn't say what to think. Point is, nobody wants to tackle it. And here's the thing about this, folks. This is not a one-off. It is not an isolated incident. These things never are. This, what Kaepernick is doing, is the result of other things which came before Kaepernick. Other things which everybody thought, okay, we've done that now. Okay, solved. Stopped. Everybody got it off their chest. No. That's not how the left operates. That's not the politics of this. This is the next step. For those who want to take America out of major professional sports, this is the next step. What would the next step be after this? Maybe refusing to permit any honoring of the military before or during games. Yes, because you see, sometimes innocent people are killed. And we have turned our military into mass murderers, in effect. They come back from where we send them incapable of coping with structured, peaceful life. We are condemning our military men and women to come back monsters. I can see that coming. I can see that happening. Maybe not tomorrow, not next season, but the trend has been established. And the trend appears to be, if you want to criticize, if you want to, well, more than criticize, if you want to attack the justification for America, if you want to make the claim that America is not justified to be what it is, that America is not this great place, if you want to make the argument that America is racist, sexist, homophobic, you have free reign. You can do whatever you want, and nobody will challenge your right to say it. But if you want to speak out in other ways, you're going to have all kinds of people climb on your case and try to intimidate you or bully you into shutting up. And it's been working. Remember, this is not the end of something. This is the continuation of what has been going on. Well, it depends on how far you want to go back. Certainly been going on the past 8 years with intensity. But even prior to that, the left was on the march with their complaints. We have two Americas now. I remember seeing a protest sign, big sign being carried at some protest, I think at a Trump rally. It was recently. I may have the event wrong. But the sign, and there were many of them, America was never great. I remember commenting on it when I saw it on this program. It's in the past month or so, maybe 6 weeks. America was never great. That's who's gotten hold of Colin Kaepernick. Or maybe he got hold of himself. Who knows? But that's who's gotten hold of Black Lives Matter. Or that's who Black Lives Matter is. 6 of one, half dozen of another. But still, the truth can't be denied. And it would serve everybody well to remember it. We are the luckiest people at any time in human history. The luckiest people. Americans in 2016, approaching 2017, are the luckiest and the most fortunate people in the history of humanity. It'd be great if more people just realized that. If they can just accept that and build on that. Build on something. Because I'm tired of tear down. I'm tired of it. It's unwarranted. It's unjust. It's unnecessary. It's destructive and dangerous. We need to build on. Back after this. Hey, welcome back, El Rushbo and the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Folks, I have to express complete shock and surprise when I got today's audio soundbite roster. The first 11 soundbites are me and the drive-by media reacting to me and something that happened on this show last week. Now, I do not watch news broadcasts on the weekend. Maybe Sunday night just to get back into the flow. I don't watch the Sunday shows, and I haven't in a long time. And it's only because I know what they're going to be. Even before they air, even before the guest lists are published, I know what they're going to be. It's not arrogance. I just don't learn anything from them anymore. And they're not entertaining to me. So I don't watch them. What's new is that nobody tells me about it anymore either. I don't get emails from anybody. Did you see what just happened on me? Nope. Did you see what just happened on Fox News? Nope. It used to be that people would email me about it, but now that doesn't. My point is, I spent the last 2.5 days totally ignorant of how much something that happened on this program last week became the subject and focal point of so much in the drive-by media. Now, here's what it is. Last week, whatever day it was, it seems to me it was Wednesday, but it doesn't matter. It could have been Tuesday, it could have been Thursday. Whatever the day was that the drive-bys put out the news that Trump was flip-flopping on immigration and was going to rethink his mass deportation effort. The drive-bys began laying the case that Trump was flip-flopping and that they had all predicted it and that it was going to add up to being amnesty and that Trump's followers had been duped. But then the drive-by said, you know what? Trump's followers don't care. Trump's followers or supporters are staying with him no matter what. So I, upon hearing what the drive-bys were saying, and as a result of my own investigation of what actually was happening in the Trump campaign, I was unable to control my laughter at the idea that I'm starting laughing about it again now. After all the efforts that so many in the Republican Party have made to get everybody to sign on to amnesty, who would have believed that it was Donald Trump to come along and have the Republican base essentially say, so what, no big deal. There was another story that day, whatever day it was, Snerdley brought it into me. It was the New York Daily News with an absolutely psychotic reaction to my reporting the news that the Agriculture Department was granting funding and grants, financial grants to lesbians, so they could go out there and become farmers. Those two things happened, and I was unable to control my laughter. It took a considered effort on my part to regain my composure here and present this program in a professional manner. Well, anyway, the drive-by media caught up on all this, and the first 10, there's 11 sound bites total. The first 10 sound bites are about that. And, of course, the drive-bys have misunderstood what I was laughing about and what my laughter meant. But that's okay, because that's common. It causes me to laugh. I'm going to share all this with you when we get back from the break here at the bottom of the hour. But I don't know how to impress. I get here, and I didn't know this until Cookie sends me the soundbite roster at 11:30. I had no idea, and yes, it happened. I know some of you people, how can you go through the whole weekend? Because I don't watch, folks, anymore. I just don't. But then nobody tells me. Yeah, I mean, as I say, Rush, they're talking about you. That doesn't happen anymore, because I guess it happens so much that that's all people would be doing. And they know it's no big deal to me anymore anyway. Somebody just told me Colin Kaepernick is Muslim. I had not heard that. Brian, you're a big sports fan. Do you know that? I had not heard that from anybody. Well, if that's true, I wonder what Colin Kaepernick thinks of Saudi Arabia, if he's Muslim. Anyway, greetings, welcome back. Great to have you. El Rushbo, serving humanity, executing assigned host duties flawlessly. I want to paraphrase somebody. America was only itself. America is only itself when it is being great. When America is not being great, when America is beating itself up, America is not itself. And that's the day. That was Charles de Gaulle, by the way, speaking of France. And I think it's appropriate and applicable to the United States. Now, this always happens. I just told you what was going to happen when we come out of the break. All of these sound bites, and Cookie assures me it could have been 20 sound bites, with the drive-bys reacting to me laughing on this program last week at the notion that Trump may have flip-flopped on immigration, amnesty, what have you. And then during the break, I got a couple of sound bites from CNN about Huma Abedin Danger now splitting from her husband, Anthony Carlos Danger Weiner. You know, and it's interesting to note this, too. Did Hillary try to talk her into staying? Hillary didn't do this. Hillary hung in there. But Huma has had enough. Huma has chosen Hillary over Weiner. Obviously, in more ways than one. I mean, the idea, the possibility of becoming Hillary's chief of staff, obviously is a very attractive thing, particularly when Huma has not been chief of her husband's staff, obviously, for quite a while. But the contrast here, no bimbo eruption unit here. Huma Abedin not arising and trying to find out who these women are, texting with her husband, and then trying to destroy them. That's Hillary's M.O. But Huma, guess she just doesn't want to deal with it, doesn't want to put up with it. And they're very sad in the drive-by media. It's almost fly the flag at half-mast day. Jeff Zeleny, CNN, just a moment ago.
He is more than a spouse. He is a central player, of course, to Huma Abedin, though. But one cannot understate the importance of her to the Hillary Clinton campaign. There is no one who
Stop the tape a minute. Stop the tape. Don't recue it. Note the tone here. It's like somebody died.
The candidate's right hand more often than Huma Abedin. This really is a personal matter, not a campaign matter, but it is really angering some people on the campaign I was spoken to this morning when this New York Post report came out. They were hoping that he would not embarrass this campaign, embarrass Huma, but that is what has happened here. But, you know, there are so many aides and so many people who work on a campaign, but again, no one closer in every respect to Secretary Clinton than Huma Abedin. One can only imagine the personal conversations that Huma Abedin is having with Hillary Clinton.
I wonder if Jeff Zeleny there understands what he really just said. When he says one can only imagine the personal conversations. What does Huma have in common with Hillary? What in the world could this possibly be about? What in the world? It's obvious. Horn dog husbands. So they all know. They all obviously know, but Huma has chosen a different route. She's distancing herself and separating herself. I guess she figured there's no future in a last name being Weiner, whereas Hillary knew there was a future with a last name being Clinton. Here is Brian Stelter, the media whiz at CNN.
It's perplexing, it's mystifying, and now just downright sad. You know, people have had fun with this story. They've exploited this story. The New York Post, among others, certainly have. But now to have a child involved, to have the child on the cover of the New York Post with his father in bed with him taking lewd photos, that is just sad.
Well, who made it possible? Didn't Weiner make it possible? Anyway, you can expect a lot more hand-wringing. You can expect a lot more sorrow. You can expect much sadness in the days ahead as this story continues to bounce around and reverberate through the presidential campaign. And, of course, what will it mean for Hillary? What will it mean for her campaign? And what will Trump do with it? Yes, everybody will be very, very concerned at whatever tactless, tasteless thing Trump tries to do with it. This in their point of view. Okay, here we go. We're just going to start in the order in which I was furnished the sound bites. First off, to set it up, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have a montage of people from NBC, CNN, C-SPAN, and the AP discussing my reaction to Trump's apparent flip-flop on amnesty.
Rush Limbaugh broke out in laughter over this.
Conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh trying to compose himself.
Rush Limbaugh this past week laughing.
Rush Limbaugh going, who'd have thought that he'd have brought on amnesty?
Rush Limbaugh could barely contain himself.
Rush, give me a minute to regain my composure. I mean, he was like hysterical.
I can understand why Rush would be cracking up.
Like I say, I went to Mike Pence to get clarification. We'll have expansion on all those, but we get first Mike Pence here on CNN State of the Union, Jake Tapper yesterday, to try to put all this in perspective. Here's how that went.
It's Rush Limbaugh, it's Governor Sarah Palin, it's other people who want Donald Trump to win who are saying, wow, it sounds like he's really backing away from this deportation force, removing 11 million. And you're not saying right now, Governor, you're not pledging that there will be a removal of all undocumented immigrants. You're not saying that.
No, what I'm saying, Jake, and I want to be very clear, there will be no path to legalization, no path to citizenship. People that want to gain legal status, you heard Donald Trump say again and again, will have to leave the country.
Right, but what about the millions in this country right now?
Well,
what happens to them?
I think Donald Trump will articulate what we do with the people who are here.
Okay, we keep going. This interview continued, and Tapper said, okay, you're saying that he's going to be unveiling it in the next few weeks. It's 72 days till the election. I think it's this week, in fact. I think this week Trump's going to unveil this new immigration policy in the speech.
What you see going on right now, and I think at a certain level it's very refreshing because it's the Donald Trump that I see every day, is you see a CEO at work. You see someone who is engaging the American people, listening to the American people. He's hearing from all sides. But I promise you, he is a decisive leader. He will stand on the principles that have underpinned his commitment to end illegal immigration in this country. And that's what people will learn more about in the days ahead.
Back to F. Chuck Todd on the Meet the Press show. This was yesterday. And he used me and my laughter to set up a question for Reince Priebus.
After a week where an attempt to moderate on immigration turned into a muddle.
There certainly can be a softening because we're not looking to hurt people. I've had people say it's a hardening.
In 5 days, a dizzying number of positions on immigration.
Who knew that it would be Donald Trump to come along and convert the GOP base?
Trump's latest confusion may be an attempt to soften his image without alienating longtime supporters.
And here's what Reince Priebus said.
You're going to find out from Donald Trump very shortly. He's going to be giving prepared remarks on this issue, I think, very soon. I don't want to give a date. Here's what I know. His position is going to be tough. His position is going to be fair, but his position is going to be humane. He's a guy who's going to be tougher on this issue, tougher on illegal immigration than any politician that we've ever had as a nominee or ever could have as a nominee.
Okay, that's Reince Priebus. Just to be clear, folks, I don't think there's been a flip-flop here at all. I think Trump's Trump. I think Trump says what he's thinking day to day, and if it sounds different from what he said the previous day, people make a mistake if they think Trump does not have rooted principles, if they think he doesn't have certain beliefs that are unwavering. And I don't have any doubt that what he has said about immigration, combined with what he said about free trade, and he means it. I think where this is all going to end up, and I made this point Friday, I think where this is all going to end up, the argument's going to be whether they come back after being sent out of the country or touchback amnesty or whatever. Where this is going, mark my words right now, where this is going, because everybody knows what this is all about. On the Democrat side, the only reason this is happening is because the Democrats need a permanent underclass and they want whatever number of illegals are here to be able to register to vote. If it's 11 million, 12 million, the assumption is they're all going to vote big government, they're all going to vote dependents, they're all going to vote Democrat. The Republicans, a little bit muddier water, but essentially the Chamber of Commerce donates, the donors rule, and they want cheap labor. And some others in the Republican voting bloc also want the cheap labor aspect. I think the Republican Party, too, would like to have a stab at these people as voters. And I think that's where this is going to shake out. Somebody besides me, somebody is going to make the suggestion, the proposal, because people are going to have to be flushed out on this. I have no idea. No, I don't know if there will ever be a serious deportation effort. I don't know how successful it would be if it were tried. But I do know something very simple to do here. And if you want to consider this advice to the Trump campaign, have at it. But this is all going to shake out with, okay, are we going to make them citizens? Is there going to be amnesty? Are we going to forgive the crimes? That's one thing. But then are we going to go further and make them citizens? Because if we don't make them citizens, they can't vote. And that's where this is going to shake out. If somebody on the Republican side would seriously propose, hey, you know what? You want to forgive them? You want the admission that 11 million, 12 million, whatever number, are not going to be deported, fine. But here's where it ends. They don't get to vote. They don't get citizenship for years. This business of having them automatically registered to vote, not going for that. And you'll flush people out. You'll find out exactly why this is all an issue in the first place. If that becomes the dividing line, if that becomes the premise under which people support or oppose whatever future immigration policy is. I got to take a brief time out. We will continue. Don't go away. El Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network. Now, I was dubious of the Muslim aspect of this when I first heard it. Kaepernick, not Muslim, as I suspected, baptized Methodist, confirmed Lutheran. He's got tattoos all over his body with scripture. Anyway, that's not the point. I just wanted to stress this because somebody they thought I was in the process, and I had not heard that. So, best we can learn it, that's rubbish. But while I was reacting to the Kaepernick story, the Kaepernick caper, in the opening monologue of today's program, at that very moment on San Francisco TV, KTVU, Fox, they were discussing this. The anchor Sal Castaneda interviewing the writer for the San Francisco Chronicle, Chuck Nevius, about Kaepernick sitting during the national anthem. The question, this might take away from his personal trying to make the team. It might take away from his effort. It might give the 49ers a tough decision to make here, distracting himself from doing what he needs to be done. I mean, He's in danger of being cut, Chuck.
I think it's inevitable that it's going to have some impact on his attempts to make the team. I mean, he did a 20-minute interview. As someone pointed out, this is Monday. The talk shows are just getting started nationally. What does Rush Limbaugh say about this? What does conservative radio say about this? This could have legs nationally. This may be only the beginning of Colin Kaepernick giving these interviews, talking about these things, and he'd better have his talking points down.
Okay, so the opinion in San Francisco, at the San Francisco Chronicle, is that it depends on this program, conservative talk radio. What do we have to say? Well, you can go to rushlimbaugh.com, which should be posted already or very soon will be, the nuts and bolts of the first hour monologue on this subject. I don't need to take the time to repeat it now, maybe even highlights. Maybe in the next hour we'll get back into it. But I want to get back to the phones. I want to start on the phones, get some in the first hour, as we always try to do. We're going to go to Rick in Los Angeles. I'm glad you waited, sir. Your turn. Have at it.
Thanks for taking my call, Rush. I just wanted to comment on your comments that you just made about Trump and his illegal and his deportation shift. And I just distinctly heard you say it's not considered a flip-flop. And I just want to tell you, you're doing a disservice to all of us Republican primary voters who didn't vote for Trump, that are struggling with whether or not to vote for Trump, when you diminish the impact of his single policy that he ridiculed all other candidates for over a year. I mean, John Kasich classically said on the debate stage, he laughingly said, come on, folks, this isn't serious. He's not going to deport everyone. And Trump went ahead and ridiculed everybody who wasn't for deportation. And for all of us who were saying that it was a con job, that it was a snow job, that he doesn't know what he's talking about, that he's unqualified to be president, for you to sit here and say that now that he adopts all the positions of everybody he ridiculed as not even being a flip-flop and it's no big deal, this is why so many Republican voters have such a hard time going to the con man.
Well, in the first place, I don't think Trump has actually changed that much from what he said. And I'm also not aware that he told every Republican they had to agree with him or else whatever he was going to do to them, he did. I'm just the point of what is it that you're
with all due respect, Rush, on Chuck Todd's show, he specifically said when asked the question, you mean you're going to rip the families apart? He said, no, I'm not going to rip the families apart. They all have to go, even the U.S. citizen children. He then got in the middle of the debate and the argument between Marco and Ted, when Ted wanted legalization and Marco wanted citizenship as part of a comprehensive plan, that he said they're both wrong and they're both being absurd. They all have to go, or we don't have a nation of laws. Come on. You were watching the debates as well as the rest of us were. You know exactly what he said, and you know exactly the way he ridiculed everybody on that stage.
Yeah. Well, I guess the difference is, or not the difference, I guess the thing is, this is going to enrage you. You know, I could choose a path here to try to mollify you, but I never took him seriously on this.
But 30 million, or 15 or 10 million, 10 million people did.
Yeah, and they still don't care. That my point, they still don't care. They're going to stick with him no matter what.
But this is why Trump is going to get annihilated. Because nobody called him out early on about his absurd policies.
Yes, they did. For crying out loud, 15 candidates called him out. Everybody was calling him out. Everybody was calling him an idiot and a charlatan and a phony baloney plastic banana goods. Everybody was.
Except, unfortunately, the number one place where Republican primary voters get their news.
Oh, no, it's on me, and we're out of time. Darn. Oh, he said Fox. Oh, I thought he was dumping on me. Okay, well, I'll pretend he was dumping on me when we get back anyway. I'm prepared for it. When you stop honoring heroes, you will stop having heroes to honor. And that's where we are headed if we don't get our heads straight. Just getting warmed up here, folks. You don't want to go anywhere. I guess we're up to soundbite 6 here when I was interrupted by the phone call. Anyway, greetings. No, I'm going to tackle it. Greetings, my friends, and welcome. It's great to have you. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network, 800-282-2882, the email address, lrushbaugh@eibnet.com. Look, I'm pretty sure you can double-check me on this. You go to the immigration plan for Trump on his website. I think it always was, and to this day is, silent about mass deportation. It was also silent about letting deported illegal aliens come back. Now, I don't want to nitpick this because I think what people have to understand about... Look, let me go back and review the primaries here for just a second. Because I'm well aware that our first caller touched a nerve out there. I know that there are many of you Republicans that really don't want to vote for Trump and you hate Hillary and you're frosted. You don't know what to do. You don't want Hillary like you just don't want anybody. But man, oh man, you're having trouble stomaching Trump. And it's you are resenting the entire primary process because you don't understand how in the hell it could have happened. How could 15, most of whom eminently qualified Republicans, get blown to smithereens by an orange-haired reality TV star? Now, I spent most of the primaries. You people know I do not ever endorse during primaries. I've had this policy since even before I began this program. It is not a cop-out to say that. I do not do it for a host of reasons. Folks, I'll tell you how far I take it. I don't even have interviews on this program. The candidates call here and they want to appear during primaries. I say no because then I would have to have them all. And I am not turning this program over to a political party or a campaign or what have you. I do not want to be obligated in that way. I don't want to be bound by, if I take one interview, I have to do a whole bunch of others, and it's lose control of the program. And that has been professional policy of mine. Professional broadcaster policy, not political policy. There's some political policy in there, but it's been a broadcast-related policy. I am a radio guy. I do a radio program, and my success here is defined by radio and broadcast business metrics, not political. It never has been defined by political metrics, and I've never wanted it to be. I have always said countless times, my success is not determined by who wins elections. That doesn't mean I'm not interested, doesn't mean I have vested interests. But I'm a radio guy. I have no question about who I am. I have no question about what I do. And I have made the effort from the get-go to never cross the line of demarcation. And for a host of reasons. At the top of that list of reasons is I don't control a single one of them. And they're going to do things that are going to be tough to defend at some point, and I don't want to be in the position of having to defend it. When I didn't say it. When I didn't do it. By the same token, they're going to come and go, and I am not going to tie myself to the fortunes of a politician. Never have, and I'm never going to. I'm going to outlast them all. But that's not the objective. That's the result. I'm a radio guy. I am a broadcaster. Everything I do is within the confines of broadcasting. My business model is a broadcast business model. The way I measure my own success is with broadcast metrics. So we come to the primaries, as we do every year, and I do not endorse. I will express people that I like and dislike, things that I hear that I approve of and agree with. I mean, I don't sit it out. But in terms of endorsing and telling you what you should do, no way. And part of that is I have the utmost respect for all of you to make up your own minds about these things. I never have believed, like the media has said, that you are a bunch of people waiting for marching orders here. You know what you think. You know who you trust. And you don't need me. Now, I'm not denying that if you're leaning to somebody and you think I'm leaning, it might make you feel more comfortable doing so. But I'm not under the illusion like the media wants to believe, that you all wake up every day thinking nothing, knowing nothing, and waiting to have your brains filled by whatever it is I say. So what I was doing during the primaries, I went to great lengths to even explain what I was doing during the primaries. The big shock and the surprise in the primaries was Trump. How can this guy be skunking everybody? And I sought to explain it to you. And I was dead on right about all of it. And I did it multiple times. And the reason I wanted people, if you're going to beat Trump, let's say you're Cruz, let's say you're Marco Rubio. If you want to beat Trump, you have to understand how to separate Trump supporters from Trump. And the first thing you have to learn, and that is the media can't do it for you. Because the media is not responsible for Trump supporters being supporting of Trump. I mean, you may be able to say that Trump is a media creation because he's hosted The Apprentice and has been all over the media, but the media did not make Trump the candidate. Trump made Trump the candidate. So when this whole thing starts and everybody thinks, well, that's it, after his first announcement, oh my God, everybody doing nothing but laughing and think, what a buffoon. This is an embarrassment, and everybody's waiting for him to implode, and we all know the story. He does the opposite of implode, and nobody can understand why. And I'm trying to make everybody understand why. In the process of trying to make everybody understand why, some people say, you're for Trump and you don't have the guts to say it. Nope, I was just telling you what was going on. Intelligence guided by experience equals flawless commentary in this sense. And that's what I was doing. And it's what I continue to do. But now we're out of the primaries. Now we're to the general election. And I'm just going to tell you what I've been telling you from the get-go anyway. I don't care what the options are. Anybody but Hillary Clinton. Anybody but more of what we have had the last 8 years. Anybody. It can't get more destructive than what we've had the last 8 years, and we do not need somebody who is simply going to rubber stamp what has happened and try to build on it, and that's Hillary Clinton. We're losing our country. Our country is being torn apart. Our country is being disassembled right before our very eyes by people who have that as their objective. And it's working on people like Colin Kaepernick, by the way. It's working on a whole lot of otherwise innocent people who are being radicalized each and every day by hatred for this country, which is absurd. We are the luckiest people in the history of humanity. To show you how out of whack this campaign is, I ran into a story over the weekend. It was actually, there were two of them. People just shocked, surprised, could not explain it. Why does the economy not matter anymore as an issue in a presidential campaign? Because if it did, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama would not be getting more than 30% of the vote because they have destroyed the U.S. economy. They have destroyed the U.S. healthcare system. They have destroyed the job market. It is near criminal what this party, the Democrat Party, and Barack Obama and Hillary wants to continue, what they have done to the United States economy. So why doesn't it matter? All these experts, these political scientists think that, I mean, how many of you have grown up thinking, well, the economy that determines who wins? I can tell you, not to be redundant, but I'm going to take you back to 2012, and I should have seen it sooner. 2012, Obama's been in office 4 years. The exit polls come in. The 5 o'clock wave, the first wave of exit polls. And I saw in those exits, 72% of people still blame George Bush for the economy. Holy smokes. After 4 years of Obama policy, including Obamacare, 4 years of stimulus, job losses out the wazoo, no recovery whatsoever, still blaming Bush. Oh, my God. We're toast. Now, we've had 8 years of Obama, and it doesn't matter. And it really isn't. You and I will both agree that the economy, Trump's not talking about it, Hillary isn't talking about it, nobody's talking about it. Obamacare, it's about to fall apart. Trump's not talking about it, Hillary's not talking about it. The economy and healthcare, they are inextricably linked, and nobody's talking about them. I don't know why Trump's not talking about it. I mean, Trump says we're going to rip it up and start over, but where is the easily available evidence to tell people that they were sold a bill of goods and lied to? It's out there, Obama on videotape. You like your doctor? You can keep your doctor. You like your plan? You keep your plan. Your premium is going to go down 25%. It's there. It's not being used. We have 94 million Americans not working. I'm going to tell you why the economy isn't an issue. And it's another indictment of what the Democrat Party or Obama or whoever, the forces who want to transform America, however you want to think of them, what they have done. The reason the economy is an issue is that a down economy doesn't matter that much to people anymore. Isn't it patently obvious? 94 million Americans are not working. They have telephones. They're streaming video. They're watching reality TV. They are eating. They have cars. They have air conditioning. So, you want to tell them there's something wrong with the economy? Not in their point of view. Now, not all 94 million. Some of them want to work. I grant. Don't misunderstand. There are a lot of people who want to find work and can't. There are a lot of millennials whose futures are over because they are saddled with so much student loan debt and worthless degrees. And they somehow find a way to blame everybody but those responsible for it. In many cases, they say, well, we've just happened to come of age when America's lost its mojo. We've come of age when America's best days are behind her. They have no idea that their student loan, which is an albatross around their neck, they have no idea that the fact that they cannot find career-oriented jobs, they have no idea that it's the result of Democrat Party policy. They apparently just think it's evolutionary, or maybe you can even trace it back to George Bush and the financial disaster of 2008. There is literally no effort made, and there hasn't been an effort made, to hold the Democrat Party accountable for the destruction they are bringing about and have wrought. So it's very easy to understand me why the economy is not an issue. It doesn't matter. If those 94 million Americans, well, let's just put it this way. If when you were unemployed, say 20 years ago, if circumstances then were the same today, then the economy would be an issue, and the lack of jobs would be an issue. And it would be front and center, and it would be the determining factor in this presidential campaign. But it isn't. I know if you look at polls, people will tell you, people say the economy, number one issue. I understand all that. But I don't believe it, because if it really is, if the economy is the number one issue to most people as expressed in the polls, then there's no way Hillary Clinton's winning this election, and there's no way Obama's approval numbers are high. So if the economy is an issue to people, if it's the number one issue facing the country, I'm not going to deny that, but they have no idea why. And then there's an accompanying story to this. Germany tells citizens to stockpile food and water in case of Islamist terror attacks. Now, most people would see that headline and start quaking in their boots and would look at this, oh, my God, the government's really worried. Oh, my God, the government's telling us this. Oh, my God, that's not how I see this. This headline infuriates me. The German government's like every other damn government in this world, every day telling every one of its citizens to depend on it, to look to it. Vote for us, say Germany's leaders, say the UK's leaders, say any country's leaders, including America. Vote for us, we'll take care of you. Vote for us, we're Santa Claus. Vote for us, we'll protect you. But when real challenges show up, guess what? You're on your own. They will make you think they'll protect you and take care of you, whatever they have to do to get your vote. But when a real threat pops up, like ISIS or terrorism in Germany, what are they telling people? You better stockpile food. You better stockpile water in case of terrorist attack. You are on your own. Isn't that wonderful? These compassionate, leftist, statist politicians promising that government can take care of everything. Government can fix everything. Government's your salvation. Government's where you should turn. Except when a real crisis hits, they don't want any part of it. You are on your own. You better find your own food. You better find your own water. You better find your own electricity. You better find your own shelter. We can't take care of you. Thank you, Angela Merkel. That's what Germany is telling its citizens. When you destroy when you destroy the concept of self-reliance, when you stigmatize rugged individualism, which is what we have been doing in this country for 30 or 40 years, maybe longer, when you stigmatize people that are self-sufficient, able to take care of themselves and their families, and when you turn the country over to the various stages of minorities who haven't accomplished anything and make them the power simply because they're the minority and because it's unfair that we have a minority, you're in the process of destroying the foundation that any country needs. And I'll tell you something else that's going on. When you stop honoring heroes, and this is Colin Kaepernick, he can do whatever he wants, sit on his ass, the national anthem, be applauded for it by the proper liberal authorities in sports media. And all the intellectuals, he's got the constitutional right, freedom of speech, don't you know? It's very courageous. Yes, very courageous to sit on your ass as a third-string quarterback likely to be cut. Very, very, very courageous to sit on your butt in the country that made you the star and the wealthy millionaire that you are. I'll be back in a sec. So as I was saying, Colin Kaepernick can make the courageous decision to sit on the bench during the national anthem, and he can be applauded for courageous dissent and protest by all the usual suspects in the drive-by sports media. And the St. Louis Rams players can run on the field waving their arms around as in hands up, don't shoot, protesting something that never even happened. The Dallas Cowboys asked to put a sticker on their helmets this season to honor cops, particularly the 5 officers killed in that mass assassination attempt in Dallas. And the NFL said, no, we're not that courageous. I guess it would be unnecessarily provocative to honor the police. Yeah. Not in 2016 America. No. No, not cool. Not cool. Well, when you stop honoring heroes, and we are, you will stop having heroes to honor. The same can be said when you start mimicking heroes, mocking them, when you start tearing them down, you're not going to have any heroes to mimic, to tear down, or to honor. And that's where we're headed. And I'm convinced the majority of America knows it and resents it. But look what happens to anybody who pops up and points out the obvious. Must take a break. When we return, I've still got the audio sound bites, the media using me all day yesterday, plus your phone calls are coming up. Straight ahead. And back to the phones we go. This is Something's happened to her name is grayed out. I can't even read it. Donna in New Milford, New Jersey. Welcome. I'm glad you called.
Russ, first time.
Thank you. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Listen, I'm listening. I've been running the Republicans in New Milford for the past 6-7 years, running the campaigns, and I'm listening for the last few hours today between Fox News and other media outlets about how Trump is doing a flip-flop on immigration, and I really, really find it really annoying to me because I haven't heard any words that state amnesty through his lips. I haven't heard any flip-flop on my end. I find myself supporting him and making sure people hear what I have to say.
Let me ask you a couple of quick questions. Is he going to deport 11 million people? Have you believed that that's going to happen since you first started supporting the Trumpster?
I know that's impossible. How could you even think that?
All right.
As a human being, there is no way on this planet that you can do that.
Okay, is he going to grant them? Is he going to grant them amnesty and citizenship?
There is nothing like that. You have to prove yourself. The people who are committing these horrendous crimes should be kicked out immediately.
Donna, you've made my point. We had a caller in the last hour who thought that there could have been a greater effort on the part of Fox News to alert people to how Trump couldn't possibly do what he said he was going to do. My contention about this, going back to the primaries, this is what, look, I tried to explain. I went to great lengths, and I did it frequently. I tried to explain to people why Trump's supporters supported him. And let me just tell you again, it's about stopping what is happening. It's about stopping a whole lot of things that are destroying the country, in a lot of people's view. People believe Trump when he says he's going to fix this and fix that and make America greater. I don't think the vast majority of Trump supporters care about deporting 11 million people or 1 million people. I think they care about stopping any further illegal immigration. So they believe the wall, they think the wall, and even if the wall is symbolic, they believe that Trump is serious about bringing the status quo to a screeching halt. I don't think it's ever been. In fact, as I say, you can go to Trump's immigration section on his website. You won't find anything about mass deportation. This whole notion of Trump flip-flopping, he's flip-flopping within the confines of standard, ordinary, everyday political analysis. Trump is outside that. It's another point that I kept trying to emphasize with people, that you cannot judge Trump as you would judge a professional politician. He isn't one. He's not focus grouped. He's not focus group tested. He doesn't poll or any of that. You know what his debate prep is? Where did I? It was something at show prep I read this morning. Trump's got his people helping him with debate, but he's resisting what they're telling him. He doesn't want somebody to pretend to be Hillary and sit down and actually stand at podiums and rehearse. He doesn't want to do that. He's resisting it. The people advising him are coming up with zingers. They're coming up with things to say to Hillary, to bamboozle her. They're coming up with things to respond to things. In terms of actual debate prep, Trump doesn't want any part of it. He doesn't want to be prepared. He wants to wing it. That's who he is. He views rehearsal and preparation as a jail cell, as a giant set of constraints on who he is. So he's got his advisors. Some of them, I'm sure, are trying to arrange actual rehearsals where somebody would play Hillary and he would, of course, be himself, and then they would fake a debate, have a debate where somebody would actually say things that Hillary says, the ways Hillary says them, and Trump would, to make him familiar with that setting surrounding the arena, the media, and I'm told he doesn't want any part of that. Oh, he's going to study up on things, but he doesn't want to prepare. Now, he may be forced into doing a couple rehearsals. I don't know. But the point here is that while people over here think Trump is flip-flopping, that's how you would measure a traditional politician doing and saying what Trump is doing, but you can't in this case because the people supporting Trump are not supporting him as they support traditional politicians. It's so many people are missing this. And I guess it's hard. I mean, you're an expert in politics. You love politics. You love political commentary and analysis. And everybody's striving to come up with a unique take on what this means or that means. But everybody is part of the playbook, and Trump isn't. He's not in it. He doesn't use it. So when they think he's flip-flopping, in his mind he's not flip-flopping, and he's not changing his mind on anything. He may be changing the way he's talking about things. Who knows? But all I'm going to tell you is this. His supporters do not think he's flip-flopped. His supporters still think that no matter what analysts say he's saying, they still believe that Trump is going to cancel all these bad trade deals. They believe that Trump is going to end mass illegal immigration arriving in the United States. That's what they believe. They believe that Trump is going to put America first. Again, they think that Trump is going to try to make America great again. And they believe that as an overall umbrella under which everything else happens. And the specifics, they're not measuring him the way they would measure a traditional politician. Say something, wait for the broken promise, because he's not one of them. They could be making a mistake. Don't misunderstand now. When I offer you my analysis on this, I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. I'm just telling you the way it is. There are a lot of people, as I was saying in the last half hour, a lot of Republicans who just can't fathom voting for Hillary Clinton, who are just as adamant they can't vote for Trump. They don't know what to do. A vote for Trump to them constitutes one of the biggest boondoggle mistakes anybody can ever make. But at the same time, they can't see voting for Hillary. So they are still trying to figure out who is responsible for what they think is this debacle. And they focus on people who didn't tell Trump supporters the truth about Trump. And my point is... It
is hilarious.
Is Hillary listening to this program and found a way to get in on it? My point is that they are... All of this is designed to separate Trump from his supporters. When the drive-bys go on and on for days about Trump flip-flopping, they are trying to separate Trump supporters from him, or trying to demonstrate that they can't. One of the two. It's all meant to embarrass Trump supporters. The objective is to embarrass them by making them think that they're supporting a guaranteed landslide loser, a phony, somebody lying to them, somebody that's playing them for suckers, somebody playing for fools. That's their objective. And I'm sorry to tell them, the only guy who can do that is Trump. It really does matter. The media did not make Trump. Trump supporters are not there because the media told everybody what a great guy he is. The media has made Hillary Clinton. If the media went on a tear about Hillary, they could really, really damage her. But, of course, they won't. We'll get back to the phones in just a second, but first, broadcast metrics and obscene profit timeout. Don't go away. Let me give you another example. You have heard, I'm sure by now, of Donald Trump's totally insensitive tweet after the cousin of Dwayne Wade, formerly of the Miami Heat, was gunned down in Chicago. It happened Saturday, and Trump tweeted the following: Dwayne Wade's cousin was just shot and killed walking her baby in Chicago. Just what I have been saying. African Americans will vote Trump. You would have thought that the most outrageous example of heartlessness and cruelty had just happened. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Republicans, conservatives, anybody who is not a Democrat is not allowed to go there. When there is gun violence and when the Democrats can make hay out of it, they can say anything they want. They can accuse anybody of being responsible for it. They can demand investigations. They can cause all manner of grief to descend on whoever they want. They are permitted to politicize these things. But a Republican ain't no how way. They're not going to put up with it. All Trump meant was, hey, I've been trying to tell everybody while you're out there focused on Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter is not focused on Black lives killing other blacks. Black Lives Matter doesn't even care, doesn't even notice. And he often uses Chicago, where black-on-black murder and black-on-black crime is near record highs. Certainly the top of the heap in this country. Just so happened that somebody with a measure of fame was killed on Saturday. Trump points it out and then tries to turn it into a political advantage, and you would have thought he was the biggest reprobate on earth for doing this. Yet when it happens in the other way around, when the left thinks they can score points with gun violence, they're out there trying to blame talk radio. They're trying to blame the Tea Party. They're trying to blame Sarah Palin. You name it, and that's perfectly fine. So we have this bifurcated circumstance or situation where something that is real is not allowable. You can't talk about it. Black-on-black crime in Chicago, can't talk about it, can't bring it up, can't insert it into the presidential campaign. Why? Well, because it undercuts Black Lives Matter, because it illustrates that black lives don't matter if they happen to be snuffed out by other blacks, because Black Lives Matter doesn't seem to be concerned about that. But Trump's supporters are not outraged. They're outraged at the reaction. Trump supporters don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out the obvious here. And they don't think it's exploitation. They think it's somebody saying the truth about something that generally isn't allowed, isn't permitted to be spoken or said. And it just cements them to Trump even further. What, insensitive? Oh, I don't know. Insensitive? You mean somebody talking about what happened is insensitive? What about what actually happened? What is that? Is that something we're not supposed to mention or even notice because it might undercut some Democrat interest groups' political ambitions? I mean, that's kind of insensitive, isn't it, to the victims? And we've got some polling data here, folks. The race is tightening up. It's not supposed to be happening, but it is. According to the latest polling data, we'll have that for you coming up. We'll get back to your phones, and we still have half of the sound bites of me used by the drive-bys on the Sunday shows to come. So don't go away. We'll be back and stay in the frying pan. Welcome back, folks. It's a delight to have you here. Rush Limbaugh executing assigned host duties flawlessly. Zero mistakes. As I continue on as America's real anchorman and doctor of democracy and truth detector. The telephone number, 800-282-2882. If you want to send an email, we got a new email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. lrushbo@eibnet.us. Okay, some of the polling data here. Let's see. Reuters this something going on here. I mean, 1 week ago at this time, Hillary was up 12. Well, 2 weeks ago, she was up 12. And then she was up 9. In the latest Reuters Ipsos poll, Hillary leads Trump by 5. Now, remember, this is the poll, the Reuters poll. It does not permit people to say that they are undecided. In fact, it was last Tuesday. It was just a week ago that it was 12 points. And it was Friday that she was up by 8. That's right. They had 2 polls last week. So the headline could easily be Trump trims Hillary's lead by 7 points in less than a week. In a separate Reuters Ipsos poll that includes candidates from small alternative parties, Clinton leads the field by a smaller margin. 39% support Hillary in a 4-way poll, 36% for Trump, 7% for Gary Johnson, 3% for the Green Party nominee, Jill Stein. So the translation, when all the parties are in the mix, as they probably will be in November, Hillary only leads by 3, which is within the margin of error, and she's not even at 40%. And you know, folks, again, it makes sense. I want to get back to something I mentioned in the last hour. I think it's a seminal moment. Most of my life, and I'm sure most of yours, presidential elections have been largely determined by the state of the U.S. economy or the perceived state of the U.S. economy. And in 2008, 2008, it did matter. That's right. In 2008, McCain was leading until the financial collapse, the reported financial collapse happened. And then it was over. And in 2012, Bush was still being blamed for the economy. Here we are at 2016. The last 8 years have seen dramatic economic decline all across the board in this country. In addition, the last 8 years have seen the heated debate over Obamacare, Obama signing it into law after having lied to the American people about fundamental aspects of it. You like your doctor? No problem. Keep your doctor. You like your policy? No sweat. Keep your policy. Not only that, your premiums are going to be coming down an average of $2,500 a year. None of that was true. The unemployment rate is more like 23%. When you get into African American and minority unemployment, it's at 25% or 50% with teenagers. We have 94 million Americans not working. By all that's holy in American politics, the Democrats ought to be finished. They ought not even have a chance using old traditional metrics. In the old days, when the economy was bad, the sitting president got blamed for it. His party was blamed for it. No matter what they did, it was almost insurmountable. By all rights, Obama and Hillary should be in the 30% range here. And Hillary ought not have a prayer. But so why doesn't the economy matter as much? I've already announced my theory, so I won't repeat it again in case some didn't hear it. You know, when I say something about anything, that's pretty much it. There's not much left to say. So sometimes I dial it back. Why is the economy not a big deal? And I still think this is a story out of Germany. I need to remind you of this again, too. Germany is a typical socialist democracy in Western Europe. And they do what all socialist governments do. They promise the moon. They tell you that they're going to take care of you, get you through the rough spots. Government's got the answer to every problem. Government is the solution. Government's where you turn to for any problem that you have. Government levels the playing field. Government makes it fair. Government does all of this. Well, Germany just issued a warning to its citizens as part of an elevated terror threat. Germany has just told its citizens that they're on their own when it comes to food and water in the event of a terror attack. Now, isn't that convenient? A government which gets votes by promising everybody that they're going to take care of them. However that is interpreted. They're going to keep you from starving. They're going to keep you fed. They're going to get you with a phone. They're going to keep you connected to TV. They're going to make sure that you have some kind of income. They're going to do something. You're going to be okay. We will take care. Vote for us. But then, when a real crisis hits, they are nowhere to be found. And they'll tell you in advance you're on your own. Isn't that just cheeky? I think it's classic. I think it is so instructive. I think it's so illustrative of who and what socialist governments really are at a base level. So easy to understand. If the government can provide you food, water, shelter, cable TV, cell phones, and a moderate income for your vote every day of the year, why can't they take care of you when the nation's under assault? Isn't that when they really should be protecting you? Isn't that what government is ultimately responsible for, is protecting and defending its people? People live in the country. The government of Germany, Angela Merkel, the government's out of there. Morning Consult, another poll. Trump closes gap to near margin of error. Now, the Morning Consult poll, on a scale of A, B, C, D, E, they have a B rating from the experts at the 538 website. And in this poll, what do we have here? Trump trails Hillary by 3 points in a new national poll from the Morning Consult outfit, shrinking a deficit that has alarmed Republican operatives who fear that Trump may be hurting the prospects of Republican candidates down the ballot. This survey taken August 24th through 26th. Trump erased a 6-point lead to a 3-point lead. It's 43 to 40 registered voters. It hasn't been this close in the Morning Consult poll since July. So the polling data continues all over the board. Now, I'm sure there are going to be some polls later on this week that show these margins a little better for Hillary. NBC, Wall Street Journal, ABC, Washington Post. I mean, they're going to go back and forth. But the point is, there isn't any unanimity on them. There isn't any sameness about them. So it's all over the board, and it leads me to believe that a lot of these outfits are having trouble finding what they really think is a good sample. You got registered voters, likely voters, adults. The L.A. Times USC poll, the daily poll that they publish at midnight every night, sample of 3,000 people, 400 of whom are identical every poll. The same 400 are polled every day, with 2,600 different people added every day, and this is it's a wash now. It's almost a dead heat. This is the poll that Trump was up 7 before the Democrat convention. And the Democrat convention happened. Hillary got a bounce up to, I think, 6.5. And now it's back down to dead heat. So the politics of this continues to confound people who continue to look at this through the standard political prism, which I continue to maintain is a distortion and not predictable per se as to Trump and his fortunes. Now, back to the audio sound bites. I have 11 bites here. We've broken this up. There are 11 bites of the drive-bys taking a clip of me from last week laughing. I was uncontrollably laughing over two things. One was a New York Daily. I mean, this story was just over the top. The people at New York Daily literally outraged that I had pointed out that the Agriculture Department was granting money to lesbians if they would go farm. They thought it was just atrocious what I was saying, and all I was doing was reporting an actual news story. And the way it was written, I couldn't stop laughing. And then Trump does his supposed flip-flop on deporting illegal immigrants. And I noticed that it wasn't hurting Trump among his supporters, and I started laughing again, and I said, who would have believed? It's still funny now when you think about it. The Republican Party's been trying for 8 years to get its base to go along with some form of amnesty. And who would have thought that it was Donald Trump that would make it happen? And I was barely able to contain myself. So the drive-bys took that and ran with it and started asking other Republicans to react to it. Where we are, we're up to soundbite number 6 on this. This would be John King on CNN Inside Politics yesterday. And he is discussing, that's just him, and then Julie Pace of the AP is next. Here's King.
The media, Mr. Trump will concede on this issue, you have to include this guy. I think his name's Rush Limbaugh.
Who knew? You imagine what it's like to be Jeb Bush today? Who knew that it would be Donald Trump to come along and convert the GOP base to supporting amnesty?
He said, Rush said as part of that, give me a minute to regain my composure. I mean, he was like hysterical there.
Yeah, and I totally was hysterical. I really was thinking, poor Jeb. As serious and earnest as all these people were about it. And then Trump comes along and the media reports he's flip-flopping on this and all of a sudden supporting amnesty. And it didn't matter to Trump supporters. It just that's the kind of thing that just befuddles any other candidate, flip-flop like that, and it is over. With Trump, it didn't even matter. That's what was funny about it. Here's Julie Pace, the AP White House correspondent.
It is hilarious. Ever since the day after the 2012 election when Mitt Romney lost, Republicans have been talking about the need to get right on immigration. You had candidates in this race like Jeb Bush, like Marco Rubio at a certain point, who actually had looked for policy positions that could get Republicans right, and they get sidelined in a primary where Trump pushes everybody to the right again. Frankly, it is hilarious. I can understand why Rush would be cracking up.
And up next, we go to Friday Night CNN. Aaron Burnett out front. This is Bakari Sellers and Jim Sciutto. And let's see what this is. This is Trump and Amnesty. It's another bite. Same roster.
I'm going to channel my inner Rush Limbaugh because I had an opportunity to hear Rush, I believe it was yesterday morning, when Rush said it is amazing to him that first they started with the Gang of Eight, and then they tried Jeb Bush. And the person to bring amnesty to the base of the Republican Party?
Rush Limbaugh actually laughed when he brought that point up.
And I quoted Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, isn't it amazing how they love to quote me when it fits their template, when it fits their narrative? Don't they just, all of a sudden, I become the most credible person in the country. I become a political oracle when I'm saying things they think fit their narrative. Now, we're going to go back to old buddy Robert Costa. If you remember, Robert Costa, the Washington Post, was on the Charlie Rose show some weeks ago. And he and Charlie were in earnest discussion over how difficult it is to ascertain just how much support Trump has. And it was Robert Costa who pointed out that maybe the drive-bys are missing a whole lot of people. He used two numbers. You get 70% of the American people think the country's on the wrong track, and 50% of eligible Americans don't vote. And Costa said, what if a bunch of them show up? What if Trump has connected with them? And what if Trump is the guy to bring them to the polling place for the first time in years, maybe in their lives? He said, we won't know until Election Day. It's impossible to, they're not, they're registered, but they're not likely because they don't vote. You know, the likely voter is the primo sample. Adults, hardly worthwhile. Registered voters a little bit better, but likely voters, that's where they go. And these people, as non-voters, can't be said to be likely. So they're missed. And there are a lot of them. And make no mistake, that has been poo-pooed by the drive-bys in other places. But I'm telling you, in the deep, dark corridors and crevices of the Democrat headquarters, that possibility scares them. Because nobody will know. They can't identify them. And it is thought that they're not being found by pollsters. Now, other people think that's just BS. That's silly. That if there were that many people and were just hankering to vote for Trump, we would know, and he'd be doing better in the polls. So Costa is back on PBS. This was on Friday, Washington Week. The host is Susan Davis. She said, Mr. Costa, over and over, we have heard that there's nothing that Trump can do to shake his sort of fundamental core support. Nothing that can break that up. But does changing one of his core positions on immigration, could that hurt him with his most strongest supporters?
We always remember that line, I could go on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone, and I would still have their support. For now, we're seeing the right wing of the GOP stick with Trump. They think at his core, if you listen to Rush Limbaugh shows or talk to different people on the right, they still think Trump's Trump, and he's going to build the wall. But there's more reservation on that side.
Right. Okay, I've got to take a break here because of the constraints of time, and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Okay, last soundbite, CNN. Let's see, last night, Jeff Lord is on with Jim Sciutto, and they are discussing one of my ideas. And I want to play the bite because Jeff gets one thing, only one thing a little wrong here that I want to correct, but you will hear what it is. Here it is.
Rush Limbaugh had a great suggestion about this to test the willingness of my friend Basil and others. Let them come and give them a path to citizenship, but they can't vote for 25 years or so. That would be an interesting proposition to see what the reaction is.
People come in the country but not have the right to vote?
Yeah, for 25 years or so. If they've come illegally, they don't get the right to vote in America for 25 years.
I didn't say grant them citizenship. You can't grant them citizenship and take away the vote. I said amnesty. I've said all along, and nobody has taken me. Look, can we all agree that if I came out for amnesty, it would do a lot to push it over the finish line? I might lose my radio show, but I could push it over the finish line, right? I had with one proviso. So there are a lot of people who would love to have me supporting it, right? And I've offered to. I've told Chuck Schumer, and I've told Karl Rove, I've told I'll be on your team. I'll come out and I'll promote amnesty as a way of solving the problem with one proviso. Those granted amnesty are not granted citizenship for 10 or 15 years, meaning they can't register to vote 10 or 15 years. And let's just see. Let's just see what kind of support there is for this, because the whole reason the Democrat Party wants this is they see 11 million new voters. They see a brand new permanent underclass. So I wanted to correct this. He didn't make a mistake. He just misspoke. I would never suggest we grant people citizenship and deny them the right to vote for 6 months, much less 25 years. It's amnesty that I was talking about. We just want to forgive them, right? Okay, they're here. We're going to admit that we're not going to send them back. That's amnesty. We're going to forgive their crime. We may, here's another thing we could do. We could increase their tax rate as a penalty. How do you think that would fly? Can't vote for, let's say, 15 years and have to pay the full Medicare tax. No. Let's not complicate this. Don't add their tax rate. Just leave it alone. And I guarantee you I wouldn't have any takers. Now, you might have some patient Democrats. You say 10, 15 years? Okay, all right, I'll go for that. I'm sure some would want to take it, but it would expose what this is all about. Another obscene profit timeout, and we get back to the phones when we get back. Here we got some more polling data here. This is from Emerson College. 3 new Emerson College polls show a tight race shaping up between Clinton and Trump in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania. 43% deadlocked in Ohio. You've heard of the Emerson poll, right? Yeah. Clinton leads by 3 in Pennsylvania, 40 again. So tied in Ohio at 43. Clinton leads Pennsylvania 46-43. And by 5 in Michigan, 45-40. Gary Johnson, Libertarian, 7% of the vote in Pennsylvania and Michigan, 10% in Ohio. The Green Party candidate, Jill Stein. And these people are going to be there in November. So it's best to calculate them. Jill Stein, 2% of the vote in Ohio, Pennsylvania, 3% in Michigan. Trump, in the Emerson poll, still has a significant gender gap. Women favoring Clinton by 26 points in Michigan, 15 points in Pennsylvania, and 13 points in Ohio. Younger voters favor Clinton over Trump in Ohio, 50-32. In Pennsylvania, 42-39. In Michigan, Trump leads with young people, millennials, 45-33, between 18 and 34. That is an outlier. I have a lot of my friends have millennial kids. It's amazing. You know, I could do a whole show on this. It's amazing what the millennial kids think, and they don't think at all what their parents thought, which is amazing. It's interesting in its own right. I mean, their parents were conservative. They were not extremist radicals. They're just standard operating Republican voters and conservatives. And their kids never really rebelled against it. But they go away to college and they come back and they're not recognized. And in some cases, the parents, the friends of mine, the parents, have also begun to adopt what their kids believe. That's really fascinating to me. But the upshot of it is that in the examples I have personal knowledge of, what I'm being told by my friends, the parents, is that their millennial kids just don't like Trump at all. And they think government's wonderful and great and the most important thing in people's lives and so forth. I take some of this with a grain of salt, but there's some evidence in the polling data that Trump does have a bit of a gap with young people that I think he could erase. But you know what it is? You know what the reason for the gap is with young people? They don't like the yelling. They don't like the constant arguing and the bickering. It makes them nervous. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's okay if it happens on a reality show, but they just made nervous by it. But I think they could be reached. But of course, then I am the ultimate optimist. I always have been. Back to the phones. Douglas, Canton, Ohio. Great to have you. Glad you waited. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, your turn. Have at it.
You know, this thing about Huma's marriage problems,
yeah,
I think it's fake. I think it's a setup so that no one will interrogate, because Huma's wide open to interrogation now.
You mean investigation?
That kind of thing. As far as the pay for play and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to use the Huma's marriage problems to keep the news media and anybody else away from her, because they have to feel sorry for her. She's going through so much in her marriage that you just can't bother her.
I can understand your thinking on that. You think that Weiner took the pictures in his bulging package underwear with the child next to him as part of the trick, and then tweeted it, whatever he did, texted it out to this supposedly brunette bombshell that he's sexting with, and that all of this was that Weiner did this purposely?
No, I don't put anything past Hillary. Okay.
Well,
okay, and Hillary's in charge.
When you put it that way.
And you know, I just heard on the news that Trump said that Huma is probably better off without Weiner anyway. They're going to use that against Trump.
Why would they use that against Trump?
They will. They'll use it against Trump.
Well, I mean, Huma's obviously decided it too. Huma's decided she's better off without Weiner. Why? So Trump comes along and says it's probably true. Why could they get him in trouble?
Because they'll blame him for saying, well, you're trying to cause more trouble in their marriage.
Oh, in other words, it's none of his business. He ought to stay out of it, not tweet about that. Yeah.
So, that's all I had to say.
Okay. Douglas, I'm glad you called out there. I'm happy you're thinking about things. Obviously, Huma wants to be Hillary's chief of staff. No question about that. She obviously has not been chief of her husband's staff. That we can make book on. She's out there strolling the sidewalks with Hillary. You seen this picture on Drudge? They're dressed like twins. They've got on white slacks, and they got the turquoise tops. And Chelsea is in the background, like she doesn't matter, walking behind them. It looks like they're window shopping or doing something. I don't know what. Look. I don't think this is a trumped-up thing. I mean, because I think Weiner is this arrogant. I think Weiner is entirely capable of this kind of risky whatever. But there is a story out there that is not going to be told now about Huma and her mother and who her mother is, the magazine that her mother edits, and what her mother believes, and how it could be embarrassing to Hillary because Hillary has included Huma's mom in a number of appearances that Hillary's made in the Middle East. And the upshot of it is that Huma's mom is a full believer in Sharia and a full believer that a wife's primary duty is to give her husband sex when he wants it. You know, there's nothing feminist about Huma's mom. I mean, it's a Paul Sperry story. He's done a lot of research on Sharia, like Andy McCarthy has. And his story was published yesterday in the New York Post. Huma Abedin's mom linked to shocking anti-women book. And if Sperry is right about this, then Huma's mom is full-fledged Muslim Sharia, in which women are second-class citizens. Now, you may say, so what? Well, it doesn't jibe with Hillary. Hillary doesn't believe any of that. Hillary certainly doesn't believe that the role of a wife is to give her husband sex whenever he wants it. Wife's job is to deny it, in Hillary's world, whenever he wants it, and then beat him up for asking. So it's a strange connection out there. It's a strange association. And then that gives rise to what was Huma doing with Weiner in the first place? What was that all about? What is there in common? And that's dangerous when you start poking around in people's relationships. That's a minefield. Because who can explain love? You don't even want to go there. Certainly not. It could be as simple as the pictures. All right. Okay, so you think it could be just the package. The package could be the deal. Okay, well, it's not. Here's Mark in Phoenix. You're next, sir. Welcome. Great to have you here with us.
Well, thank you, and hello to you, and a special hello from my wife, who is a huge fan of yours. Rush.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for my call. Real quick, on the immigration issue, I think that many of the candidates, Trump in particular, sort of talk around it, and I just don't think they're doing a good job. So I have like a 3-step program I'd like to get your feedback on. One is simply stop the flow. That's security of the border by whatever means we need to. But I think the next ingredient that nobody talks about is to stop the incentives for coming here and start implementing the deterrence. So in other words, if you're here illegally, if you've come here illegally, or you're caught coming across, you're considered a national threat, and we're going to have to deal with you in a very serious measure. So stopping the border, telling them you're really going to treat them at a higher level.
Now, wait, the incentives are a tough one.
No.
Because everybody wants to come here, and we don't blame people wanting to come.
No. I agree, and I think that they should come here, but through the legal process. But if they're going to sneak across or come through illegally, then we have to consider you a national security problem.
Can I, obviously.
And then the other issue that I never hear anybody talking about, and it seems so simple to me. You perhaps will relate to this. You and I are about the same age. Mm-hmm. But when I was a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons, I always remember, and it's still stuck in my head, the PSA service announcements that if you're here in the country and not a citizen, you have to register with the government. So why not have everybody that's here illegally register? And if you choose not to register, now you're considered a national threat. And if you get stopped you're going to face some serious consequences. But if we register everyone, which we could easily do, now we know what the number is. Is it 5 million people, 50 million people? Because that's part of the challenge.
Well, but you still might not find them all. You people that come here illegally and get here illegally and then don't get involved in a traffic stop or some other kind of crime. Technically, you could maybe find them when they get hired. Look, I get your drift, and I think you're defining, in essence, the Trump supporters' basic link to Trump on this is that he's going to do all this. He's going to stop this. He's going to stop the influx. We're going to shore up the border, and we're going to maintain the country. We're going to protect it. We're going to make sure that it's not overrun, and that people that break the law don't get away with it. Really, it's a law and order issue as much as it is anything else. I don't think most Trump. I think the way the media goes after this, analyzes Trump, is not at all the way his supporters do. I don't think they're anywhere near this critically attentive to it. It's a broad-based issue to them, not macro, and that's how they hear Trump dealing with it. It's like I think most Trump supporters think this isn't complicated, and the efforts to complicate it are how we have gotten into the mess. It isn't complicated. We got a law that says you cannot be here illegally. It is illegal to come here and stay here, and we enforce the law, and everything would be fine. But we don't enforce the law, and that's why everybody's been out of shape. And if the rule of law goes by the wayside, then what else? What other glue is there to hold us together? It's really not that complicated, but people want to make it so, because the more complicated it is, the more simpleton-like they can make Trump out to be, and his supporters. Don't doubt me. Fastest 3 hours in media. Feels like it just started. With my brilliant take on Colin Kaepernick. The Kaepernick caper in America. Now it's over. But there's always tomorrow, folks, and we will be here. Thanks so much, as always, for being part of this.